Welcome back to episode 103 of the BatChums podcast. I'm Drew Leiter, and joining me tonight is my co-host, the man, the myth, the new legend, Mike Gordon.
Howdy.
Sorry, I didn't get you a bouquet of flowers.
It's all groovy, man. It's all right, man. So it's groovy. It's where it's at, man. Look, I've got the hippie lingo down just about as well as this episode does.
Now, when I saw this episode, I was tempted to watch the Star Trek episode Way to Eden because it made me think of that one.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a good call. Both of them deal with sort of that. I mean, this was the thing, and you'll find like, hippies represented all over the 60s for sure. But sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't. And I don't know. The jury's out on this one still, so we'll see. But yeah, peace, man. Peace.
So this is Batman season 3 episode 7, Louie the Lilac. Episode aired Thursday, October 26, 1967, directed by George Wagner, 2 G's,
Two
and
G's.
written by Dwight Taylor.
So
Now, I
go
didn't
ahead.
recognize that name. Had we
Yeah. Nope. This is Dwight Taylor is a new writer to the series. He was around from 1903 to 1986. He has about 36 writing credits, of which this is his last. This is his final writing credit that he has for anything. He started very early on in his career, like back in the golden age of Hollywood, if you will, in the 30s. He wrote some of the best Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers movies. In fact, his name is on the screenplay for The Gay Divorcee and Top Hat, which is my favorite. He also did a lot of film noir movies in the 40s. And Thin Man Goes Home. He contributed to the Thin Man series, which I love, in 1944. But in addition to his writing credits for both TV and movies, he was also a co-founder and a past president of the Writers Guild of America. So he was kind of busy doing that, I think, after the 60s and spent a lot of time promoting writers in within the industry. So yeah, this was his final script, and of course we're familiar with Wagner with 2 G's. I love to see him. He knows his Batman. So this should be in good hands. Now, one thing that bugs me, it's a little thing, but as an editor, the editor side of me, I mean, I guess technically it's allowed, but the comma that they have in the title, Louie the Lilac, Louie, comma the Lilac, just bugs the heck out of me. There's no need for it. It's like, I mean, if his name is Louie the Lilac, just call him Louie the Lilac. Don't call him Louie the Lilac. Like it just seems like it's silly and not in a good way. And yeah, I just it bugs me every time I see it. So I do
Good.
not.
So it didn't just bug me because you'll be happy to know that in my notes, every time I put in Louis the Lilac, there was no comma.
Yeah. You defiant guy, you.
Yeah, it bugged me too. I was wondering why it was there, but
Yeah, I don't know either. Even my partner Michelle is an editor too. She's a copy editor by trade, and she was like, "Yeah, that's not really necessary." So, I don't know what they were. Yeah, he's not actually a lilac, or let alone the lilac. So, it's just a title. It's fine to have it just be Louis the Lilac. But in any case, let's get on with the show.
another brisk, bright day blossoms in Gotham City. But is the day only but is the day only thing that's blooming or isn't blooming? At police headquarters, Chief O'Hara informs Commissioner Gordon that the park is ready, the police are ready, and all the flower children in Gotham City are ready for their fancy flower in. But there are no flowers. Someone
What?
has cornered the flower market.
That's crazy. Especially lilacs.
Elsewhere, Louis the Lilac tells his henchmen that he has cornered the flower market. The young people of the flower generation will be the future leaders of the country, and when he has them within his flower power and controls their minds, Gotham City will be his garden to loot and plunder, and then later, the world.
So let's talk about Louis the Lilac. Louis the Lilac is an original character to the series, to the show, not ever referenced again in any comic that I could see. No, no, just kidding. This is not his only appearance, by the way, this season. We will see him again later on in season three. But yeah, so, and Louis the Lilac, like I said, is an original creation. I feel like, though, it's not a very um, far distance between Louis the Lilac and, say, Poison Ivy, who is a definite comic interest. She was created in 1966. She made her debut in Batman 81. We've already discussed how in that darn Catwoman, Scat Darn Catwoman, that two-parter that was last season with Catwoman and Pussycat, that Pussycat was originally going to be Poison Ivy, but ABC standards and practices were like, no. So, um, so I don't know if this was their reaction to that. It's like, okay, well, we'll have a Poison Ivy like character, but we'll swing the entire opposite way and cast Milton Berle in the role. And look, that's no shame on Milton Berle, Uncle Milty, as a lot of people know him from, as Milton. You must know Milton Berle.
I've heard the name, but I wasn't sure what it was from.
Wow. Okay. So Milton
You
Berle,
got to know, I don't know a lot of these classic movies and stuff.
yeah, but
Not
Milton
like you
Berle's been
do.
around for like 80. He was around for like 80 years. Milton Berle was 1908 to 2002 is when he finally passed away, unfortunately. But his career, like I said, he did everything he could to remain relevant for over 80 years. He made his debut in silent movies. So obviously that's not your cup of tea. But his first appearance ever in anything was The Perils of Pauline in 1914. He played a young boy in that. He also played a young boy in The Mark of Zorro from 1920, the silent movie classic that really like changed everything. In fact, we might not have a Batman if it wasn't for that movie. So he's definitely got there. He did a lot of other movies, but he's mainly known as a television star. He had his own show for decades. He appeared in so many other shows as a guest, mainly playing himself. He was known as Uncle Milty or Mr. Television during the golden age of television. He has two stars in the Hollywood Walk of Fame, one for television and one for radio. Like I said, his movies are, I think his standout movies for me are It's a Mad, 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 Mad World from 1963, which, Drew, if you haven't seen that, man, you need to see that. That I think you'd love that movie.
We've talked
And
about that before, I think.
yeah, we have. It's come up several times. The Muppet movie, 1979, he's in that.
Well, then I've seen them.
And then, crazy. This is one of his crazy credits that I love. But in the 80s, somehow, and I think there's a story behind this, but in the 1980s, in the mid 80s, he appeared in a few like Rat music videos. The rock band Rat. He was in a couple of their music videos. So just an like you just never know where Uncle Milty's gonna pop up. Done several things. Usually, like I said, usually he's playing himself, but every once in a while he takes on a another role, another persona, and this one I think I like Milton Berle a lot, and I enjoy his work. It's odd. It's funny because a lot of the other cast members, I was looking at some notes and some interviews with people after while they were filming this, and he kept everybody in stitches. Like, I mean, off on the set. As a matter of fact, one of his henchmen was booted out several times because he was just laughing too much, laughing too hard. When they were doing the flower power stuff out in the on location in the park, they actually had to hold back like a mob of people that were not only excited to see Batman and Robin, but they were also happy to see Milton Berle, and he was out there signing autographs, making people laugh. Like he's just a ham of the best in the best sense. We've seen him before in this show. He popped up in the Ma Parker episode as a prison guard. Um, so yeah, so he did a lot of stuff and is probably, not too many other folks that have been on this show have one, let alone two uh Walk of Fame Hollywood stars. So yeah, so he's a big deal. And he's a big get, and I can understand why they'd be excited to have him. Um, I think, as we go through this, I think he plays the role a little bit too serious for me because he's not funny at all. Which is weird because I usually see him and he's funny. He knows how to be funny. And he sort of wrote the book in some cases on what it is to be funny. So, but anyway, so enough about Merle, but I will say too, while we're at it, that his henchmen are named Arcacia and Arbulus or Arbutus, right? And those are types of flowering trees. So he also calls later on, he calls for azalea and petunia, which are flowers, when they need more men. But they don't get credits. And I don't know. There's not a lot of information on those two guys, but Arbutus was played by Richard Backlund, 1931 to 2015. He has 154 credits. We've seen him a lot. He was in season one, Death in Slow Motion, Riddler's False Notion. He played CB, which was one of Riddler's henchmen. He was in season two, King Tut's Coup. He played the Fouled Sphinx. And he will be in two more episodes after this of Batman season three. So he's a regular on this show, even though you probably didn't recognize him. His other notable credits, I believe, are Chinatown, 1974, Sledgehammer. He was in an episode of that, 1987. And one of his last roles was a sort of a comic book adaptation as well called Art School Confidential, 2006, by Daniel Close, who's an independent comic guy of great regard. So that's a cool thing. Acacia is played by Carl Lucas, who was around from 1919 to 1995. He has 142 acting credits. And the only one of note that I mean, you could go through and look at them all, and there's a lot of them. And he did like a lot of television work, especially in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Well, not so much in the 90s, sorry. But the only one of note that I saw was that he was in an episode of The Monkees in 1966. So our good friends monkeying around, who may join us sometime this season, uh, would be interested to know. They might recognize him.
To the Flower Mobile. They will start with Princess Primrose. They all tune in on her. At the park, Barbara Gordon is strolling through when she hears a woman shout her name. Barbara says hello to Thelma. Thelma corrects Barbara, informing her that her name is now Princess Primrose. She is a flower child, and these are her flower friends. They are
So,
having a flower in.
yep. So Princess Primrose is played by Sky Aubrey, who was around from 1945 to 2020. She has only 28 acting credits, but she was in last season Batman I Spy. She played Carol, and that was her first role ever. And she did a few things mainly in the 60s. She did a few things after that, but really she was really busy in the 60s, appearing on different TV series, and then went on to do, I think I saw a couple things she went on to do. I think she opened up an acting school and did some other things, I think. But but notably, one of her last roles that she did was she was in two episodes of Superboy from 1989, that series. And I also want to point out too that the guy that she's talking to, the guy that sort of um, rises her up out of the out of the basket there, that is Dogwood. The character's name is Dogwood, and he's played by Jimmy Boyd. Now, Jimmy Boyd was around from 1939 to 2009. He only has 24 acting credits, which doesn't seem like a lot. He made his debut in a 1952 series called Space Patrol, but he's notable for two things, two big things, really, in my opinion. He is responsible for recording when he was 13 years old, 1952. He recorded the song "I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus," which was number one on the Billboard charts for 2 weeks during that holiday season, and it sold 2 million records in less than 10 weeks. Chances are that if you've heard "I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus," you've either heard John Cougar Mellencamp's version or you've heard Jimmy Boyd's version.
I've heard both.
Well, you live in Indiana, so I think it's I think you'd have to hear John Mellencamp's version. Uh, he probably lives just right down the road from you. The other thing that he's notable for is that he was actually married to Yvonne Craig. While they met while making Bing Crosby film High Time in 1960, marriage only lasted 2 years, so they were divorced by this point. But there is a couple screenshots where they are together, and right there when in the beginning there, and I just I'm like, was that awkward, or did she help him get that? Like, I don't know if there was a friendly divorce or not. I'll have to check out her book, and maybe she explains it more there. But yeah, he was actually married to her for a couple years.
Princess Primrose wants to rename Barbara Hyacinth. I, I have no I have no idea if I pronounced that correctly.
Well, thank goodness Barbara said no. It would have been a difficult rest of the season.
Barbara thinks Thelma has flipped a petal or two.
Yeah, she doesn't seem to have any regard for the flower children.
Suddenly, Louis the Lilac and his henchmen come driving through the park in his flower mobile. Louis starts tossing lilacs out of his car, and the flower children come running. Louis steps out of the flower mobile when he spots Princess Primrose and greets her. Louis invites her back to his greenhouse so they can plant a worldwide flower in. Louis points the lilac on his lapel at Princess Primrose, and she is unable to refuse his command.
So we've got that similar power, right? Like they have, uh, he has the power to influence people, particularly women, and of course, just like Poison Ivy has the power to influence men. Although she is more direct about it than he is. But yeah, it's very similar. And I was gonna look up what the the Lilac Mobile was, but everything, but it just looks like it's a soup up, like it's just a sedan that they put flowers on, dumped up flowers on. The budget on this show is really not great. They didn't really put much effort, I don't think, into his Louis or Lilac Mobile. Is that what it's called? Louis Mobile? What
The
is it called?
flower mobile.
Flower Mobile. Thank you. All right.
Barbara goes to police headquarters and reports to her father that Louis the Lilac somehow mesmerized Princess Primrose and drove off with her. Commissioner Gordon states that the police have many serious things to worry about. Chief O'Hara adds, then Princess Primrose being wished away from a public park in a flower mobile.
So
Barbara
this
Ark. Oh,
this
go
is
ahead.
this is inconsistent with, I mean, I guess they have to move the story along and everything, and Neil Hamilton sells it as if, he sells everything. But it just feels weird that the police commissioner, especially Gordon, is acting this way and so dismissive of the kidnapping of a potential kidnapping of, especially when he knows, I mean, I know that they are making these connections, but to be honest with you, Drew, they're not doing a really good job with these connections from episode to episode, right? Because we saw a police officer recognize Louie the Lilac and call it in directly to the police commissioner's office, and Gordon was like all freaked out because Lulu Lilac was in town. Well, now they just sort of dismiss that as like, who cares? We don't even know really who he is. And it's just like, it's weird because they need to. I wish there was some more consistency between when they introduce the villain at the end of one episode and then they have the actual episode, because it's almost like, I mean, I've heard that they shot them out of sequence. So they should be able to um, know what's going to happen and sort of make it fit, but they don't even seem to try, which kind of is annoying.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah, we
annoying, but not surprising.
no, unfortunately, you're right. It's not surprising, and I get the feeling sometimes with this show they just go, oh, we can get away with it because we're just ridiculous, and it's like there's things that you can do that are ridiculous, sure, but there's other things that you can do that just seem that, yeah, it's just lazy. And I think some of it strikes me as a bit lazy.
Barbara argues she wasn't whisked away. She was kidnapped. Barbara is sure of it. Plus, she was a friend of hers. They went to college together when she was Thelma Jones. Commissioner Gordon and Chief O'Hara are late for a meeting with the city council. Her father tells her to relax. Barbara states she can't relax. Plus, she's late to the library. She should have been there an hour ago. Commissioner Gordon states that a good librarian is a calm librarian.
Yeah, he's really dressing her down here, which we haven't really seen before. Like he's really treating her pretty poorly, in my opinion. And yeah, they're not on the same page, which is that happens with families. I get it.
After Gordon, after Gordon and O'Hara leave, Barbara goes to the hotline phone and calls Batman. She hopes she isn't disturbing him. Batman replies, not at all. Robin and he were just putting a flower decal on the Batmobile. They are to be the guests of honor at a flower inn this afternoon. Barbara responds that is exactly what she wanted to talk to Batman about. At Louie the Lilac's isolated greenhouse, Louie reveals that he is interested in Princess Primrose and her flower children. Princess Primrose reveals that sometimes she thinks she is too much of a dingaling, and so does Barbara Gordon, the police commissioner's daughter, who works at the library. She was walking through the park this morning when Louie arrived in the flower mobile. Louis sprays Primrose with his stupefying aromatic spray from his pocket lilac. He orders Princess Primrose into the hothouse and then locks the door.
Wait. Is that your adjective? Stupefying? Is that
No,
is
that was that was from the script.
I see. Okay. It's like I was like, wow, Drew, look at you go. But it sounds like something they would say on the show, and yeah, it
It
is.
is. Just so you know, you can actually find the scripts online.
You know what? Somebody actually pointed out to me that just the other day, and they said, they sent me a link to the script for the pilot episode, which I still haven't read yet, but I'm kind of curious to see if there's any differences between the scripts and the actual episodes. But have you been reading the scripts every time as well?
Not every, no, not reading the scripts every time, but sometimes I reference them when when I can't catch things on screen, I'll reference them and get them off there. So,
I wish someone would collect those in a book. I bet that would be really cool to have, like the scripts of Batman 66, all three seasons, like put together in a nice volume. Come on, DC, get on that.
Louis orders, okay, I know I'm going to mess up these flower names. A, 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 it's the one with the A.
They
Acacia?
both have A's.
I know.
There's Arbulus or Arbutus and Acacia. I think it's
Asace,
Acacia.
Asacia, that's this one.
Yeah.
Louis orders Asacia to keep an eye on Princess Primrose. Louis orders Artibus to tail Barbara Gordon. Who knows what she told her father?
Yeah. And he was the one to me that looked most familiar. Arbutus, especially so and yeah, that's because he's been in, 3 episodes already of Batman and he's going to be in two more after this. So, I mean, and I've seen him in other things, I think, too. So he looks more familiar to me. That Carl Lucas is a tall dude.
Louis decides to go downtown to police headquarters. The Batmobile's normally parked in an alleyway nearby. This may be their big chance. Louis,
That's
it's usually parked in front of the
That's what I
police
was just gonna say.
headquarters, not
Thank you,
down an
Drew. I was
alley.
just thinking that. I was like, no, no, it's usually parked right. We haven't seen it parked much out front though this season. They've kind of clipped all of that where we don't see that very often.
We
And
saw it once, I think.
we have seen them park in the alley a couple times. So
Yeah.
it's not uncommon, but it's not usual.
At police headquarters, Commissioner Gordon states that his daughter had no right to call Batman on the red phone. It caused their first real argument. Chief O'Hara adds that it was a sad thing to hear.
So apparently, him just dismissing her, even though she was pleading with him to investigate the potential kidnapping of her friend, was not considered an argument to him. So he has a weird definition of argument, but in any case, yeah, they're not on the same page here. That's kind of weird, but yeah, it would have been really like I'm glad we didn't see that to see him dress her down for using the bat phone because that would have been really uncomfortable.
Yeah. Batman states that Barbara was just understandably concerned about Princess Primrose. Since Gordon and O'Hara know little about Louis the Lilac, Batman and Robin decide to check with the Bat computer. Suddenly, the intercom buzzes. Bonnie announces that there are a bunch of flower children here to see Commissioner Gordon. Batman and Robin decide to leave by the window so they are not mobbed. The flower children think they're cool, man, and they turn them on.
Burt Ward's really hilarious when he's like, yeah, they think we're cool. Like we're gonna get mobbed. Like, it should be noted too that Adam West and Burt Ward were mobbed a lot during this time period. I mean, Batmania was still going on, and though they knew what it was like to be mobbed by teens and people because that would happen a lot to them at events. And so they really would understand that feeling of being mobbed. And it was mostly young people who really appreciated the show. And even college young people, college age kids loved the show too. So yeah, it was right in this wheelhouse that these type of people would love Batman and Robin because they got the joke, man. So that's not unheard of, but it is kind of funny to hear them reference it on the show and the way Robin talks about it. He's not a fan. He's just like, yeah, they'll mob us. We have to leave out the spec door. So we don't want to see them. So very, very funny.
Batman explains that although it may not be understood by more literal minds, in their own way, the flower children are doing what they can to correct the world's woes with love and floors. I think that's supposed to be flowers.
Probably sure. Yeah, it's probably supposed to be
I don't know why I wrote floors there.
yeah. The and the fact that, I think it's also, even though Batman and Robin was watched by everybody in the family, I think it was important for Batman not to isolate the series, to isolate their younger viewers. So they definitely have Batman talking up the hippies instead of down because they want to that's part of their audience. So they want to make sure that they don't insult them. So having Batman go out of his way to say they're cool dudes That's on brand, really, and it makes sense.
Batman and Robin descend the bat rope to the Batmobile in the alley.
Yep.
Batman finds an advertising card taped to the Batmobile steering wheel. It is to Lila's Lilac shop on 11th Lavender Lane. Batman states this bears investigation.
So we see them descend. Of course, no cameo. So we don't have time for that. Um, but yeah, and then they get that clue to go to Lila's. Then we get the introduction of Lila, who's played by Lisa Seagram, who was around from 1936 to 2019. She has about 30 acting credits, 38, sorry, acting credits, mostly in the 60s. She appeared. There was a 60s show. It seems like she was on it. McHale's Navy, Bewitched, My Favorite Martian, Honey West, The Girl from Uncle, Batman. She was just all over the place, and she kind of scaled back after that too. So she didn't do very much. Like I said, I think well, my understanding was she got married. I think she did some real estate for a while, and yeah, kind of just didn't do as many acting roles. She's in periodically and stuff after that, but not a lot. But I did notice that looking at her, she wouldn't have made a bad Poison Ivy. I think she would have been compelling. So if they had called her like Pamela Ivy, that would have been pretty cool, I think, because she certainly fits the bill looks wise as well as, sort of her demeanor. So I don't know if that was intentional on Dwight Taylor and the producer's part, but I kind of feel like we were so close with that getting Poison Ivy here. And, not the kind that makes you itch.
After the Batmobile leaves, Louie contacts Lila and warns her Batman and Robin are on the way. Get out her poisoned lilacs. Batman and Robin arrive at the greenhouse and are surprised that this shop hasn't been affected by the current flower shortage in Gotham City. Lila states that she has some very rare lilacs in the rear room. If Batman would like to see them, Batman answers that he is always interested in the unusual of any species. Lila Lila brings out the rare lilacs from the back room and trips, dropping the lilacs on the ground and claiming how clumsy she is.
For those just listening to the podcast, Drew put up the quotation marks on the word trips. He he put those in air quotes. He put that word in air quotes.
Robin volunteers to pick them up. Before Batman can warn him about the poison alba volare, Robin passes out. Batman puts on a respirator and leans over Robin and the flowers. Louis the Lilac sneaks up behind Batman with a pot of flowers and breaks them over his head. Meanwhile, in Barbara Gordon's apartment,
Before we go to
Barbara.
Barbara's place, I think at some point in there, Louis the Lilac refers to them as the Creped Crusaders, which I thought was a nice pun. Look, there's a lot of like, even though this is a, hippie love peace flower in type episode, very colorful. There's some allusions to death and mourning in this. The lilac itself has associations with death and mourning, and I found that the pun creped crusaders was really interesting because that's a reference to a fabric crepe which was hung on doorways of houses in mourning back in the old times. So the term crepe hanger originated from that practice. Yeah, I thought that was kind of a deep cut there as far as from writer Dwight Taylor that most people wouldn't get. Certainly, I wouldn't have known it if I didn't look it up. But I thought it was an interesting sort of aspect to this that gives it a little bit more depth than just your average sort of pun that they use. So I appreciated that.
Meanwhile, in Barbara Gordon's apartment, Barbara discovers Louis's henchman Artibus on her terrace. Barbara threatens to call the police, but Artibus pulls the phone cord from the wall. Back at Lila's
This is
lilac.
a creepy. That's a creepy scene
Oh yeah,
where Barbara's somebody's following her, and then he she finds him on the ledge on the outdoor patio, and he just comes walking in, and she can't do anything to stop him. And he rips the phone from the cord when she tries to call her father. It's just yeah, it's creepy. It's very creepy. And again, it takes this episode from, oh, it's kind of, fun and delightful, to, ooh, there's some really creepy dark elements to this. And whereas Barbara, even though she's not in the suit, not in the Batgirl suit, she still should be able to fend for herself.
that's what I
Uh,
was going to point out.
yeah,
Even though it is kind of a creepy scene, I knew at any time she could probably kick him out and kick. We've
literally.
seen her do it before.
Literally kick him in the face. Yeah.
Back at Lila's
He is
lilac.
lucky that he didn't get kicked in the face.
No kidding. Back at Lila's lilac shop, it is holy purple cannibals as Batman and Robin are being fed to a carnivorous plant from Brazil. Louie claims it got a hold of an explorer one day in the jungle and left nothing but shoelaces. For Batman and Robin, it is a flowery finish. Back in the Batcave,
So
Alfred,
before we cut to the Batcave, I believe the last thing we hear Robin say is "Holy Luther Burbank."
does he say that? I didn't catch that one.
Yeah, I believe he says "Holy Luther Burbank," and that is a a pun that's a saying that nobody's going to get because I had to look it up. But Luther Burbank was the person who the city of Burbank, California, is named after. But he was also a renowned horticulturist, so that's why he utters that there. But yeah, I had to stop that a couple times. Like, what is he saying there? So
Back in the Batcave, Alfred is tinkering with one of the computers when he receives a call on the hotline phone from Commissioner Gordon. Alfred hasn't seen Batman and Robin since they left his office this morning.
I found
Commissioner
it too weird because he demands where he is. Because he says, I'm sorry. Like, Alfred picks up the phone. And he's like, I'm sorry, he's not here, sir. And Gordon barks right at him. Where is he? I was just like, whoa, calm down, dude. Like, I know your daughter's missing for the umpteenth time this season, but hey now, like, don't jump all over well, he doesn't know it's Alfred, but because he's dumb.
Commissioner Gordon replies that when he left his office this morning, they were on their way back to the Batcave to consult the Bat computer about Louis the Lilac. Batman is in contact Batman is to contact Commissioner Gordon as soon as possible. When Commissioner Gordon hangs up, he tells Chief O'Hara that Barbara's phone is dead and Batman is out. Nothing is going right. Chief O'Hara warns Commissioner Gordon to watch his blood pressure.
Dun, dun, dun.
Alfred uses the Bat computer and receives a card that states Lila's Lilac Shop, 11 Lavender Lane. Back at Lila's Lilac Shop, our old friend Magic Batman has come to the rescue.
So I appreciate Magic Batman being here because when they cut to commercial, we don't I don't see the commercials obviously, but because I'm watching the Blu-ray. But when they cut to commercial, when Robin said "Holy Luther Burbank," it felt like a old school Batman cliffhanger. So I do appreciate Magic Batman coming in because we don't get to see him a lot this season because we don't get a lot of multi-parters. But you know what? Bring him on because yeah, it's welcome to see him because we got a proper cliffhanger in the middle of an episode right before commercial break, and I think that's a smart play. I think that is a smart thing because I don't think they've done that a lot, especially when you add the fact that Barbara's also in peril here too. So what a great place to end, like if you were going to end it, like if this was a two-parter, you would end it that way with Barbara in trouble and Batman and Robin in trouble. What are they going to do? And then the next episode would air. So you're getting a compacted version of a two-parter here, and I like that.
Yeah, I had to bring in Magic Batman for this.
Sure. I mean, we
Ha-
pay him, so
Yeah.
we got to use it.
Magic Batman. Has Batman and Robin become just a pair of bat boots? Let's see
He's
what
the
he
only one who
says.
gets paid on this show, really.
Ask again later.
Wow. Magic Batman's been out of practice. Apparently now he only works for patrons.
I guess so. Robin asks Batman if he can reach his utility belt and signal Alfred. Batman replies that the carnivore plant has already consumed his utility belt. Holy, holy Luther Burbank.
That's where he says it. Okay. I jumped the gun on that one. But that's where he's and to be fair, like, yeah, Batman's belt is gone.
I know it's there and it was gone.
Yeah. It's
Now, one of the
crazy.
one of the things I thought I remembered from this show is the utility belts getting taken all the time, but
Mm.
we really haven't seen that.
No,
So
no,
it
we
must
haven't.
only happen a couple of times, and I thought it happened lots.
Well, we've still got the rest of the season, but yeah, it's possible. Yeah, there's a. Did you remember this episode at all?
I vaguely.
Vaguely.
In the other room, Louis sprays Princess Primrose with his pocket lilac once again, and she becomes stupefied. It's off
Stupefying.
to the flower mobile. Back at Barbara Gordon's apartment, Artemis bangs on Barbara's bedroom door, shouting that it don't take no 10 minutes to powder your nose in a locked bedroom. Suddenly, Batgirl appears on the terrace. When she confronts Artemis, he tries to make a run for the front door and discovers Commissioner Gordon, Chief O'Hara, and another officer coming down the hall. Artemis escapes out the terrace and down the fire escape.
That other officer, by the way, is played by our good buddy Bill Dyer, who we mentioned before, because he was in season one. He played a chef in the 13th Hat, but in season two, he played a policeman in The Cat and the Fiddle, Green Ice, Marcia Queen of Diamonds, and Catwoman Goes to College. Now, in Marcia Queen of Diamonds, he actually had a name, a credit, Officer Goldberg, but the others he's just listed as policeman. Plus, we will see him in three more episodes after this one. So this guy is a recurring character as well. So if he looks familiar to you as a cop, that's because he's been a cop for most of his appearances here, and we'll see him again as a cop.
Commissioner Gordon, Chief O'Hara, and another officer come in the front door. Commissioner Gordon would have swore he
That's
saw
Officer
Bat.
Goldberg to you, Drew.
Commissioner Gordon would have swore he saw Batgirl on the terrace. Barbara opens her bedroom door and exclaims, "Batgirl, I believe you saw the intruder who followed me home from the library." She tried to call him, but her intruder ripped out the phone cord. Barbara locked herself in her bedroom.
That is one of the
Commi-
fastest change of clothes I think there's ever been. Because,
Besides coming down the bat poles,
I mean, okay, fair point, fair point. But she goes in there and comes out like, yeah, like everything. Like her hair's not even out of place. It's amazing.
okay, the bat family are professionals at changing in and out of their costumes, okay?
That is a requirement, apparently, to be a member of the Bat family. You have to be able to change your clothes very quickly.
Commissioner Gordon orders Chief O'Hara to station men around the building and to have Barbara's phone fixed because apparently they're telephone experts.
Well, and like having no offense to Officer Goldberg or the rest of the GCPD, but come on, man. I That's not going to make me feel more comfortable. That's not going to make me feel more comfortable.
Commissioner Gordon thinks Barbara should move back home, but Barbara disagrees. Commissioner Gordon wants to have dinner tonight, but Barbara needs to get back to the library.
Yeah, wink, wink. because she sees Alfred like in the background, like look, and then he cuts back off really fast, like whoa. Funny, like Alan Napier does a great take on that, where he just appears and then disappears. Very funny, very funny. And yeah, like I said, they don't reference it here. Gordon doesn't reference it, but yes, she has been kidnapped twice before this, right? And she's got the penguin like obsessing over her, trying to kill her. I would be worried too if I was her father.
While Barbara and her father are talking, Alfred appears in the doorway. When he sees Commissioner Gordon and the other policemen, he makes a hasty retreat back down the hall.
It's hilarious.
When Commissioner Gordon and Chief O'Hara leave, Barbara finds Alfred out on the terrace. Alfred has reason to believe that Batman and Robin are in trouble. The Batmobile was last located outside an isolated greenhouse. I, if I was Barbara, I don't know, I'd be suspicious of Alfred,
Getting
you
this
know,
information?
yeah, and how he knows this, and it would make me think that are Bruce and Dick Batman and Robin?
Well, but we just had an episode where she was confronted with that knowledge and she made the decision they couldn't be because Bruce Wayne is no Batman
That is true.
because he doesn't
And
even want milk and cookies when they're in the car together.
would have been nice if they would have connected this back to that episode.
Yeah, there's no connections.
Yeah,
They,
I
they didn't
know.
even they didn't even connect the Louie the Lilac bit with this episode. So I you know what? I think we've established throughout this series that that continuity wise, we are always stunned when there is continuity.
Yeah, that is true.
Because for the most part there isn't. And it's not unusual. It's not a fault of the show because it's not unusual at this time. In the 60s nobody was watching binge, certainly nobody was binge watching. Nobody's watching stuff regularly. If you missed it, you missed it. There was no, maybe maybe some shows were in reruns afterwards, but not, it wasn't, there was no syndication, there was no nothing back in the 60s. If you missed it, it was gone. So to reference something that somebody might have missed is just not something that they were worried about. It's a lot different now, but back then, they just moved on and treated almost every episode like everybody was watching it for the first time, which is not a bad way to go, but it does make binge watching them very difficult.
At the park, Princess Primrose is giving a speech to the flower children about how Louis the Lilac's cornered the flower market to make his flower inn a success and what hopes and dreams he has for them and the future of the world. Suddenly, Louis' stupefying aromatic spray wears off Princess Primrose, and she reveals that Louis putting a period on Batman and Robin in his poisonous purple pad. Wow, he ought to be called Louis the Louse. Let's get him!
Nicely put, Dogwood.
Louis has his henchmen get them out of there quick. And shortly, back with the semi-digested dynamic duo, Magic Batman tries to once again to free our heroes.
Wow. Twice in one episode.
Yes, I fit it in twice. Magic Batman are the dynamic duo plant food. Answer: Batman is on your side.
Just like Nationwide.
Robin complains that one of the monsters is nibbling on his ear. Batman reveals that he managed to loosen one foot. If he can just kick the flower pot next to it through the glass. In the other room, Louie, Lila, and Asacia have returned from the park.
You can just say henchman.
I probably should have just put henchman.
But credit to you for trying.
Suddenly, a flower pot crashes through the window of the door. Seconds later, Batman and Robin come bursting through with flowers hanging off of them. Batman states one blast of cool air kills those blooming cannibals far quicker than they could devour any far quicker than they can devour any human repast. Louis orders his henchmen to attack, and a fight ensues.
Yeah, that's where henchmen come out of the woodwork, and he calls in the flower like Azalea and Petunia guys. And Yeah, so we get a proper fight because there has to be, henchmen coming out of the woodwork, or in this
Batgirl
case, flower pods.
Batgirl appears and joins the fight. Batman asks Batgirl how she got mixed up in this. Batgirl answers, maybe some other time and place they can have a question and answer session, but not here.
She's all business.
Batgirl grabs a spray can of powdery mildew. Louie rushes towards Batgirl, warning her not to use it. Anything it touches molds and decays. Batgirl sprays it right in Louie's face. I was like, dang. Robin warns Batman that Louis' henchmen are getting away. Batman orders Robin to the Batmobile and alert Commissioner Gordon. He'll round them up.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
Yeah.
That's just why I think a couple of the henchmen are still on the loose for a couple more episodes this season.
Lila points out Louis Lila points out Louis is starting his wilting. Louis answers he may be mildewed and wilting on the outside, but inside he is still Louis the Lilac. And one day he's going to control the flower market of the world, and with it, the entire flower generation.
No, I think he meant to say that he's still Louis, the lilac.
Robin comes running back in, exclaiming, there's 1,000 flower children outside, and they are after his budding scalp. It
He's
looks
getting
like
mobbed.
it, lo- it looks like it's lilac time for Louis. Louis yells never and throws himself into the man-eating lilacs. Batman tells Robin not to worry. The cold blast of air made those lilacs dormant. Batman tells Robin to go back out and calm the flower children. Robin states they will mop him, but Batman answers groovy. Batman asks Batgirl to take Lila, but Batgirl is already gone. Lila asked who is Batgirl. Batman answers that he doesn't know. He never has, and perhaps he never will, but he wish he did. So dramatic.
Overly so. Well,
Yes.
there's another scene too where Adam is laying it on a little thick here, because there's a scene in the scene where he gets the invitation. Robin says something. They're in the car, and Robin says something about, it could be a trap or something like that. And he's like, and he questions the validity of the message that they're getting for to go to the shop, the flower shop, and Batman almost looks right at the camera and says like, "Yeah, this invitation is probably a plant." Wink, wink. And I was like, wow, Adam, you don't usually do that. You don't
No.
usually like wink at the camera like that. So I think Adam's playing it a little tongue in cheek, more so than he usually he plays it straight. And
Yeah.
yeah, so and the groovy comment too was kind of that way too. So I don't know, maybe we're seeing a transformation of the way Adam's playing the role too now.
Elsewhere, Batgirl is riding her bicycle while her theme music is playing on her way home. And they played, I think, the whole song.
Yeah, so that's weird because, they don't do it that often. I think this is only the second and final time, thank goodness, that they'll play the song with the lyrics in the series. But, you know, I wish they had like this had a lot of stuff in the episode. And then we kind of like it's almost like, oh, we've got a lot of time to fill. So let's just spend 2-3 minutes watching Batgirl on her cycle with her theme. And I'm like, look, I like watching Yvonne Craig as much as the next guy. And the next guy in this case is Drew. Uh, but really, you guys could have given 2 or 3 minutes to some of the stuff in the episode. You didn't have to, you know, uh, sort of spin our wheels with this for a long time. So,
Spin the bat cycle wheels or
yeah,
the
spin
bat
the
girl cycle wheels.
yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Let's just move on now.
Back at the greenhouse, Robin informs Batman that he calmed down the flower children and they have gone. The police have taken Lila away. Robin promised they would bring in
I would
Louie the
like to see that
Lilac.
scene, by the way.
What?
I would have rather seen that scene, by the way, of Robin trying to calm down 1,000 flower children who are trying to mob him.
The police have taken Lila away. Robin promised they would bring in Louie the Lilac themselves. Holy hoofbeats! Batman and Robin spot Egghead riding on a donkey. There it is.
Yeah,
I'm
I knew Drew was going to be happy about one thing in this episode, even if it's at the very end.
because
He's
I something I remembered from my childhood.
Yeah, we had a list when we started of all these things Drew remembered from his childhood on this show, and that was one of them. And I think we've checked off just about almost all of them. There's a few more that I think there's a few that he still has to check off, but this is a big one.
Yeah. Well, there's one where Batman, Batman, Robin, and Batgirl are playing flutes or something, and there's mice involved. I remember that. We haven't got to that yet. And of course, the big one, the mine car that's supposed to be blasting into the Batman or the Batcave. So those two I still remember.
All right.
Um, be sure to tune in next week for what Egghead and a Tartar princess named Olga have in store for the Cape Crusaders.
Dun dun dun. Um, yeah, this episode is bonkers, which is, par for the course for the show, which is great. And some of that bonker stuff is cool. I really like the Batman and Robin are sort of, literally tied up in ivy and being slowly devoured. That really reminded me of a poison ivy type scenario. And I like the image. I thought it was directed well. This has got a lot of returning cast members, even if they're playing different parts. So I don't know. We're starting to see that more and more. I've noticed too that we're seeing less and less connections to Star Trek because we haven't seen a lot of actors that have been on Star Trek on this show yet this season. I mean, Yvonne Craig is obviously the standout, but and she's always going to be in an episode here this third season. But for a while there, we were running across like almost every episode somebody else was on Star Trek as well. So, but I think overall it's pretty cool. Like I said, Milton Berle is not bad, but I think he's playing it a little too straight. So he's not really that funny or dynamic, which is odd to see because usually he is kind of nailing it. So I'll be kind of curious. I know we're seeing him again this season. We'll see if it changes at all his performance or what that's about. But yeah, it's a nice little episode.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun episode. All right, well that wraps up our episode for this week. Do you have a shout out, Mike?
I do. So I got my letter of acceptance, and it is confirmed that I will be attending as in a guest capacity. I don't know how many now. I've lost track of I count how many times, but I will be a guest this year at DragonCon. So I'm really excited. DragonCon is, as I've mentioned before, my favorite convention of the year. It's my favorite event, period, and one that I haven't missed since 1994. So, and and what makes it more special this year is that this year is their 40th. This is their 40th year that they're doing this, and of course I haven't been to all 40, but I've been to as many as I could since I lived in Atlanta and since I found out about it. So I really appreciate it. I will once again have a table in Artist Alley. More information as it's coming as far as what panels I'll have or what products I will have on my table, because I am working on a few books right now that I hope to have finished by then, as well as a few surprises. And of course, you can hear all about updates for the con itself with the Dragon Con report, which we just recorded our third episode and released that last week. So you can see that right here on YouTube or on listen to it on the ESO network.
All right. And for my shout out, I'm going to shout out about a Patreon episode of Legends of the DCU. It's a Legends of the DCU bonus episode number 32. So if you're a Patreon, you can check that out because in this it's a Green Lantern number 17. And you can see I'm wearing my Sinestro ring because in this issue, a Sinestro ring comes to Batman. And of
Mm.
course, he declines it, but it is such a cool scene in the issue. So that that'll you can check that out on our Patreon. Uh, I don't know. Are you familiar with that? Did you ever read the Green Lantern, Jeff Johns
Yeah,
Green Lantern run?
I did. I did. In fact, I'm a big the Black Lantern series. What that crossover was huge, and I ate every minute of it. In fact, I have all colors of the ring somewhere. I'll have to dig mine out as well at some point because I do have all the colors. Although I think there might be a little bit small for my fingers, but I can't hold them like Hal did in that cover. Um, but very nice, very nice. Yeah, I don't have a nice display like that. I wish I did because then I could display them really nicely and I wouldn't lose them. But yeah, there's a ring somewhere around here. But yeah, I like that. And I think Batman is one of the rare figures in DC lore that has been offered a green ring, a yellow ring, and of course he wore a black ring.
So
So that's
I've been
that's uh that's
I've been wearing my
he's had three colors, right?
what's that?
I said Batman is one of the rare figures in DC history to have been offered a green ring, a yellow ring, and of course he wore a black ring during that Black Ring saga.
So
So I think he's one of the few that has worn like three different color rings or been offered them.
yeah. So yeah, if you haven't checked out Jeff Johns Green Lantern run, it's great, especially if you're a Green Lantern fan. And Cletus and I have been reviewing them on our Patreon. So another reason to join our Patreon. That, of course, we're reviewing the Batman 1943 series, which we've been having a blast doing.
Absolutely.
All right. If you'd like to comment on anything we've talked about tonight, you can reach us at our feedback line 317-455-8411. Text us, leave us a message, or you can email us at batchumspodcast@gmail.com. All right, you ready to get out of here, Batchum?
Bat chums are ready to move out.
Atomic batteries to power, turbines to speed. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Don't worry. The Cossacks are coming. The Cossacks are coming.